it's Julian, and today I'm super excited to be showing you the much requested How to Make All Day I Dream style deep progressive house like Sébastien Léger. As usual, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video is available right at the top of the description on my Bandcamp for just $5. This is a great way to support me and get some great files to work with to make your own tracks. And yeah, let's get started. So we're at 122 BPM, a little bit slower, kind of more deep. The BPM plays into this a lot. You would think it's just the sounds you use, but even just like how slow the track is or how fast the track is, does a lot for the mood of the track. But yeah, first sound we have here is the string pad. So, here is the MIDI. The MIDI may seem kind of crazy. What it really all comes down to is I'll show you the bass line so you can see. So if you look at the bass line here, you can see we're pretty much just in the key of D minor. Like, it's not really that crazy, it's just D minor. So that's what this is based around. It's just like some simple D minor stuff. Like, we have this sort of like D here, it goes up to E, the ninth. Down here we have, I believe that's G. Yeah, so we have like the fifth down there. And it's all really just notes in that key. The key here is that we're doing something that's minor sounding, but because there's also like some kind of major intervals in here, like you can see here, there's literally a major chord happening between those two, and there's a major chord happening there. And they're all over the place in here. It's not just minor, it's not just dark. It's like something a little bit kind of sad to it, but also something very bright and hopeful to it. And that really just comes with like playing with the scale and knowing what notes are going to fit together. For the sound with this one is made with two layers. So we have the string ensemble, and then this sort of like juicy analog pad. So the string ensemble is just your standard Ableton string ensemble, and then I have it going into a low pass filter with an LFO on it, so it gives it some movement and kind of makes it kind of like fade in and out like that. It makes it kind of fit with what's happening with the analog pad, where you can see we have two saw waves detuned, and then those are going into a low pass, and the low pass has an LFO on it as well. And so this is just making it so now we're having two movements here, because we have the movement inside of the analog pad and the movement with the strings. So you can hear it's creating a very alive and exciting sound for this because of this stuff happening. And it also just makes it so it's kind of fading around and changing, It's not just the same thing the whole way through, but it's very organically evolving. I get the amp envelope set like that, and then we just have a bit of vibrato and unison, and then that's it for this instrument rack. And then after that, we just have some chorus and reverb, giving it a bit of space, a bit of drum bus, which is just to fatten this up and like really make it full. And it really glues these together too and turns them kind of into one layer. Then we have a high pass filter cutting out the lows, and then finally I just have a compressor side chaining this to the kick, and that's it for the string pad. Then we have this lead. So yeah, this one is just like with the string pad. If you look at the MIDI here, it seems super crazy. But again, it's all just simple sort of like D minor key stuff. And then it just kind of goes back to what I was saying with the string pad. It's like, it's not meant to just follow like one very just straight 4-bar progression or anything like that. We're kind of like using this scale to evolve musically over time. So like if you look at this, it goes there, then it's going there, then it goes down there for a bit. Then we do this thing with these kind of like closer intervals over here. It's like very free and very alive. And this is a big part of this style of track. Is like, it's not just the fact of like the sounds that are playing, but it's also the way the music is happening. Again, it's very free spirited. It's not just like following like a simple 4-bar progression. It's kind of just evolving and changing over time. And that's what you really need with this style of stuff. Now, for the sound with this one is made with analog. And you can see there's actually quite a bit of automation happening here. So what this is, it's just two saw waves. You can see we've got one here, and then one of 7 semitones up. They're going into a low pass filter, which has an envelope on it. It's also key tracked, meaning if you play a low note, more closed. If you play a high note, it's going to be more open. And then you can see I'm also getting some vibrato, the amp envelope set like that. But then what's happening here is we've got 3 automations. So we're automating the filter, we're automating the octave of oscillator 1, and then we're also automating the octave of oscillator 2. So if you look, you can see like the filter's kind of like opening, and then it'll close, and then it kind of like opens slowly again over time. So that's a really big thing for this, is that this automation on the filter is really making the synth like come to life because it's carrying it along through the different parts. It makes it build, and then we get deeper, and then while that's getting, like right as that gets deeper, you can see there's an automation happening where the octave of oscillator 1's going way up. So then we have these automations as well, which just kind of like make the sound jump around. You know, it makes it feel more alive too. And if you listen to a lot of these tracks, you'll notice like whenever one automation happens, another one happens to kind of counteract it. Like here, this one goes down an octave, so that one goes up an octave. Or here, like the filter closes, so then that jumps up 2 octaves. It's like, you know, just really getting creative with like having the different automations speak to each other and having things happen that is going to kind of like work together rather than just having like one thing automates, then another thing automates. You know, this is how you really bring the synth to life and make it feel like it's really breathing and evolving and living. And yeah, then after the synth, with that one, we just have that going through a bit of chorus and then a bit of echo. You can see the echo is just doing quarter notes. You know? Just gives it a lot of space. I've got it on the ping pong setting. Then we just have a bit of drum bass to beef it up a bit. This really makes it like full. You really need to make this sound fat. Like in order to make these leads work, it's not gonna work if it's just a little like twinky, sort of like. It really needs to be like big and fat like that. And yeah, then I just have a compressor side chaining into the kick and auto filter to cut out the low end, making sure that nothing gets in the way of the bass. And that's it for the lead. Then we have the choir. So this is playing this sort of dark minor sounding thing. If I play it with the string pad, it makes a bit more sense. So basically, it's just providing a little bit of sort of like background musicality to the track, you know. It gives a bit of a counter melody to the string pad and to the lead. So you can see this is a really simple thing. It's just this is very like D minor, like it's literally just walking up the scale here, I'm pretty sure. Or we're using A, but we're still walking like kind of up the scale as if it's a D minor scale. And yeah, for the sound on this one, it's been using this choir sample. So I took this. Just like a voice sample. And I put it into a simpler here. You can see we've got the loop on and I'm fading it. So it's like just smoothly loops through the sound. And then we just have it going through a bit of reverb and some drum bass, kind of make it a bit fatter. You know, even with a quieter background sound like this, you still want to make it as fat as possible. Then we just have a compressor, which is sidechaining this to the kick, and a high-pass filter. And yeah, this one's really simple. Again, this one's more just about how it fits together. Like if I turn it off, and then back on again, you can hear how having this just adds a lot to the overall mix, rather than it just being something that you're hearing just on its own. Then we have the kick. And yeah, this one, you know, you just want this like super fat, deep kick like this. It's got a strong transient to it. You can see it's like it really hits at the start. But then it's also got really fat bass and bottom end to it. And so that's really what you want when it comes to the kick. And that's just going through a bit of saturation. Then we have the bass line. So yeah, this one is also just the same thing we were doing with the other melodies up top. Again, we're just picking a scale, and then the bass line is just kind of holding down the low end in that scale. You know, it's meant to just sort of give you the root notes for everything that's going on. This is what's guiding the track sort of like harmonically, because it's like The other thing is, like, even though we're playing chords, like, the string pad doesn't really feel like the main chord progression. The bass line is really going to be the thing that's going to give you the main chord progression in this style. And you can see what's happening here is it just kind of plays, just like I was saying with, like, the pads, you know? It's not just following, like, one chord progression, but it's kind of, like, very free-spirited, you know? It goes up to A, then G, then A again, then G again, then A again, then G again, and then D. So it's like, you know, just sort of carrying the story along. And then you can see, like, the notes, you just want to be very sparse, you know, it's very much how they fit into the groove, lots of 8th notes, lots of 16th notes. And then for the sound, this is just a simple sound made with operator. We're not even using any FM here. It's just a sine wave here, going into a low-pass filter with a bit of a soft shaper, and then I just have a drum bus to fatten it up, and then a compressor to sidechain into the kick. And yeah, the bass really needs to be strong in this style of track. Like, when I was mixing this, first of all, when I was making the track, I started with just the kick and bass. But when you're mixing it, you really notice, like, the bass line is just big, fat, taking up a lot of the track, but it works really well that way. Another trick here before I move forward is the low-pass filter. So you may be saying, why would you use a low-pass filter if you're just using, like, a sine wave? And the reason why is because when you're bouncing around to different octaves with the sine wave, you'll notice if I turn the filter off, see how it kind of gets louder the higher you go? That's not good because your bass is going to have kind of an issue with just being too all over the place, especially with all the bouncy notes that are jumping up and down the octaves here. So if you low pass it, you keep a more even bass response with the sound. And it can work across multiple notes like that. And then on the group of kick and bass, we just have a bit of saturation, so here's without it. And then with it. So you can hear real subtle, just gives it a little bit more glue between the two elements and fattens them up a little bit more. It's like that last little push to just make it all work. And then we have the hi-hats. So this is two main sort of things. We have the background hi-hats. And then this one. So the first thing here are these vinyl hi-hats. You can see we've got these in a drum rack here. So these are just like, yeah, sampled from like a vinyl drum break. You can see it's just being high pass and the high end's being boosted. And then we have a shaker underneath it, which just kind of beefs it up. You know, that gives it a little bit more mid-range. So that's that one that's just like in the background. You know, it's very organic. Lots of life is happening. And on the group of those, I just have those being sidechained to the kick and then high pass together. And then the main hi-hat is just this one. This one really comes down to the sound, you know, it's just more like this very mid-rangey, big, full, sharp sort of thing like this. And yeah, and then on the group of all the hi-hats, we just have a bit of drum bus. So here's without it. And then with it, you can hear, you know, it just sounds super crunchy, super fat. You know, you want that mid-range sort of crunch in the hi-hats with this style because it really needs to have that, like, texture. And also, it's just going to make these really stand on top of the mix. Then we have the percussion. So you can hear we have, like, this little thing. Just kind of constantly dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, like that. And then we have this little percussion. Almost like a clave sort of thing, you know, very old school, just kind of like world sounds. And then we have the snare. And that's just playing on the 2 and the 4. So the only thing here is just like, you know, the way it sits on the kick. Because it's a snare and not a clap, you know, typically in progressive house you would have a clap. Here we have this more organic sounding snare, so it feels a bit deeper. Just getting a little on the 2 and 4. And then on the group of percussion, we just have some drum bus and EQ. So just fattening it up with the drum bus, cutting out the low end with the EQ. Here's without those. You can hear this really helps to kind of put them all in the same place. Like, you know, it gives these all the same character and the same texture. It's the same deal as like with the hi-hats. You know, when you're putting everything like this in a group into drum bus, you're going to get a more even texture across everything. And then we just have this high pass filter, and that's just making sure there's nothing getting in the way of the low end. Yeah, so that is it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video is available right at the top of the description. If you enjoyed this video and you want some cool stuff to play around with, definitely check that out. You know, it really supports me. I don't make a whole lot with the YouTube videos, but with the sample packs and different stuff like that, I'm able to keep showing you guys all these great tips every day and keep showing you new styles that you've always wanted to see tutorials on YouTube. And yeah, so thank you so much for all the support, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.